Hey, everybody, welcome back to this week's podcast with Multifamily Investing Academy. I am your host, Charles Dobbins, the founder, and also the multifamilyattorney.com. Yeah, I bought that. And so I am here today with Gene Guarino. Gene is sitting right now out in lovely Arizona. Gene, where are you from originally? You're not originally from Arizona.
Upstate New York.
Of course you are. Of course you are. I can tell just by looking at you, you're a New York guy. I knew it. I absolutely knew it.
Yeah, I thought out about 25 years ago.
Did you really? You figured it out 25 years ago. Yeah. Why? What happened? Well, upstate New York. Believe me. Let me tell you. Since you left, Gene, upstate New York has just gotten worse. Okay. Yeah. It's like what town did you come from?
Around Albany, Saratoga, that area.
Yeah, it's a nice area. Saratoga's nice.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, I had to go to a funeral for a friend, and he was in Horseheads, Painted Post, that area of New York, which is like right on the Pennsylvania New York border. And I had to drive Mass Pike and then drop down south, and oh man, that area is tough. That's the worst thing that happened in New York State is New York City. They really should separate those two places because it's just.
I've been saying that for years, and actually right now I'm thinking, I bet a lot of those upstaters are saying, let's start the petition now.
Oh, but also you hear about California with like trying to break it up into 4 states, which I gotta tell you, it makes a whole lot of sense. As a New Englander, I said, back in the day, back in the Revolutionary War times, there was the county seat and then shire towns. Do you know what a shire town is?
No.
A shire town is a town that is 1 day's horse ride from the county seat. Yeah, that's the definition of it. I think that's what we need to have in California. I mean, a state that's 4 hours, long. It's here in New England. I went through 5 state capitals in 1 day, one time. So, wow. and you can do that. Yeah, that should be the law. That should be what it's like. How many state capitals can you drive? Yeah, the world according to me. Okay, good. All right, hey, listen, I'm glad to have you on my show because no one talks about what you're talking about. This is a very interesting. Let me just tell you, folks, that Gene is the president of Residential Assisted Living Academy out of Phoenix, Arizona. Has over 30 years experience in real estate investing in business. Today, he's focused on just one thing, which is investing in the mega trend of senior assisted living. And I'll tell you something, that's the way it goes. Gene, I'm doing a podcast, not a podcast, I'm doing a webinar for those of you listening right now, just so you know, we'll put this into context. Gene and I are quarantined right now. And, we are, nobody is allowed to come near us. This is happening. This is April 1st. It is, we're in the middle of the, of this COVID-19 crisis. And so, Gene and I are in our respective corners. Now, Gene, I'm going to be doing a webinar for during this COVID-19, the month of April when we all have to sit at home, and it's going to be on the. Let me grab the manual on this book that came out in 2016. It's called Big Shifts Ahead. Have you heard of this? I mean, okay, it is phenomenal. Let me grab the cover. It's called Big Shifts Ahead. I do everything on Audible, so they allow me to print it off. And it talks about the demographic clarity for business of all the stuff that's going on. And let me tell you something, Gene. The guys had me at the very beginning when they decided that they didn't like the name, the nomenclature for the types of generations that are going on. For example, I am considered a baby boomer, okay? Mm-hmm. But that means, hold on, where did I put I'm looking for my notes. I want to read these to you. That means that I am lumped in there, not only with the biggest demographic group, but I was born in 1964. And that means that people who were born in 1946 are considered in the same generational boom that I'm in. I've got nothing in common with somebody who was born in 1946. And that's what these guys recognize is they said, listen, those name, Gen Xers, Gen Ys, millennials, those are all misnomers. I mean, we have to change the names. We have to put them into decade-long groups. So every decade is considered a group. And what's really interesting is that people within the same decade actually have different characteristics. Like, for instance, I think it's the people who were born in the 80s or the 70s. The 70s, people born at the beginning of the decade are better off financially than people born at the end of the decade because of the housing crash in 2008. The people who were born at the beginning of the decade purchased their homes before, they have equity still in there. The people who purchased homes who were born at the end of the decade and then purchased homes, they lost everything in the crash. So even within those 10-year spreads, you've got some pretty big differences. So you look to be about, what are you, like in your late 70s, early 80s? Gene, is that?
Yeah, I'm looking pretty good for 80, aren't I?
Yeah. See, you're doing what I do. I tell everybody I'm 72, and they all say I look great for 72. And I said, that's the only way I get compliments. So I was doing you a favor right there, Gene. I was doing you a favor.
Thank you. No, we're almost the same age. You're my younger brother, though. I'm born in 61.
Okay, so you're born in the 60s also. So let me read to you how they describe people born, how he describes people born in the 60s, okay? We are called equalers. So our decade, where you and I are equalers. So with both sexes pushing for more equal opportunities in the world, the equaler women were the first beneficiaries of Title IX, and the first Black U.S. president came from this generation. For the first time, more than 60% of women worked. Dads more than doubled their involvement in childcare. They will retire less affluent than prior generations. Isn't that it? Yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, we've been through people born in the 60s, we've been through 3 cycles, as they call them. We've been through 3 cycles. Back in the late 80s, back in 2000 and well, let me switch so late 80s,
87, 2001,
yeah, 2001, and then 2008. Yeah, we got our asses kicked, man. So what did you do about it?
That makes us resilient, and especially
exactly.
As entrepreneurs.
It also means we're going to be working forever. So
well, it depends on how you set up.
No, I'm gonna be working forever only because I love what I do, as you can tell by what's going on right now. No, my dad, I have a picture of my dad lying in his deathbed writing an application for insurance, and he was 82 years old. And I tell you, that's just the way I see it. I want to keep going. I'm having too much fun. So, but listen, how did a nice guy like you get in the residential assisted living business? Did you do it right after you got out of prison? Or was it sometimes thereafter?
Hey, don't give up my ID here on the witness.
I know. Oh, I know who you are, buddy. I know who you are.
So it was actually, I heard about it from a business perspective 20 plus years ago. And it was really all about the demographics coming your way and the baby boomer generation needing senior housing in the future. But I really it didn't go for me at that point because there was nobody to show me how. But it was when my mom needed help.
Okay, now hold on. What were you doing before that? Like when somebody showed you this aspect, what was your business?
Well, to kind of build it up to the whole thing, my first real estate transaction when I was 18 years old. So we had an official business. I was 16. We were renting a property for 2 years. Landlord was bad, house was worse. Ended up buying a house, converted it into commercial. Bought another. So I've been doing real estate since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
So flash forward decades, I was in a presentation where hundreds of people in the room, a guy in the front talking about opportunities in real estate. And one of them that he mentioned was this concept of residential assisted living. And it intrigued me. And I remember running up to him, Charles, and saying, tell me more. He said, well, I can. I don't do it. I'm just telling you, you should do it. So I was kind of deflated.
Wait, do you remember who that was?
I do.
Okay, wait a minute. So was it one of those guys that were like, you'd see him on TV and
he didn't make it to TV, but the guy who I originally heard it from, his name is James Smith. and many people have heard his name before. He's about he's probably 7 years old now, but James and his sons were incredible. He is a outrageous speaker, and this is one of the many things that he said.
Wow. Okay, because I remember one time in college, I went to see one of those guys, and like buy homes and stuff. This was back in 84, 85.
So
this guy was
Charles Gibbons, or Chuck was one of the very first ones. You had Carlton Sheets was soon after that.
Yeah, it wasn't Carlton Sheets. It was I won't remember. The guy ended up filing bankruptcy later on.
Yeah.
But I remember the guy had French cuffs and he was dressed to the nines, and he pulls out this wad of $1,000, $100 bills. And I remember him saying, like, I always carry $1,000 with me. That way, if I get mugged, I want the mugger to be happy and leave me alone. And I'll never forget. I wouldn't advertise that, pal. I wouldn't advertise you walking around with $1,000. But I remember that guy, and then I found out later on that he had to file bankruptcy. But you know what? I'm sure at the time I thought, oh, see, you can't make any money in real estate. That was my attitude early on. But with the wisdom of years, there was so much going on, so many different businesses he could have been in, and who knows?
Yeah.
But it works. So so it was James Smith. And he did not, and I mean, like you said, there was nobody teaching this at the time.
Yeah. So when he mentioned it, I said, do you at least know somebody who is doing this? And he shared a name with me, and I contacted them. And frankly, they weren't willing to share with me how to do it, because their mindset was, well, you're going to take all my business.
Exactly.
Like, there's millions of seniors. So
yeah, that is such a loser mentality.
Yeah. And the others that I found that were doing it were just not that successful, weren't able to teach. So my interest waned until about, it was about 10 years ago, and my mother's health issues started to kick up. And that's when we realized we need help. We're that person that needs to find a place for mom and help. And going through that experience, I vowed to create the solution. And that's where the whole residential assisted living that I teach now and been teaching for the last 7 years comes from. It was from my mom needing help, not finding a good solution. So I said, let's create it.
That is so cool. That's excellent. I mean, when I started my multifamily investing academy, probably about the same time you did, and at the time, I felt that there was a need for real teaching that, like how to do this the right way, as opposed to these get rich quick schemers who have never lived through a crash before. Mm-hmm. So, but. I have a student of mine who is focused on residential assisted living. That is her thing. And she's had me look at it, look at the numbers. And I quickly told her, I said, listen, I can help you with the real estate, but this is an entirely different business than multifamily. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is I'll give you one perfect example. When I look at a multifamily trailing 12 financial statement, I can tell you within 30 seconds if that property is good or bad, just by knowing what the expense ratio should be for that property. Okay, so it could be anywhere from 35 to 60% expense ratio, depending upon the quality of the asset. She shows me a financial statement from an assisted living center, and we're talking like 85, 90% expense ratio. I'm like, whoa. I can't help you. This makes no sense to me. And it's because it's an entirely different business. Right. You guys have payroll. You have food. You have things that multifamily never even has to deal with. So, give me the primer on residential assisted living.
Sure. And if it's 85, 90%, just so everybody hears that, that's way out of whack. Too expensive. Shouldn't buy that one. So, yeah. The way I explained
I think she did.
Well, she's not my student then. I wish she were. So the way to explain this is there's two parts to this play. There's a real estate play and there's a business play. You can do either or both. I do both, and that's what we teach people how to do. But the real estate play, it's the right location is really the key. It's not the house, the building. You can scrape it away and build it again, but the location is critically important to your success. So location, and there's all kinds of things that go with that. What is the house? What do you do? How does it work? But you can lease that to an operator. And the operator of this residential assisted living business might be willing to pay up to twice the market rent because their cash flow is enormous and they can afford to do that. So if you just want to own the real estate, we can have that conversation. The business is really where the action's at. And I don't want to make this clear, Charles. A lot of times when people hear this, they're like, I don't want to be a caregiver. I don't want to deal with seniors. I'm here in my home and it's not quarantine. I'd be here at home anyway. I don't go to the homes on a daily basis. I'm not the manager. I'm not a caregiver. So some people in their mind before we even start have already stopped and said, I don't want to do that. That's like saying I can't own a multifamily because I'm not a plumber. You don't do it yourself. You hire somebody to do those things. So the business side, the average person in America today is paying over $4,000 per person. You might have a home that's licensed for 10 people, so that's gross income of potentially $40,000 a month from a single family home. All of your expenses in that $40,000 a month might be 70 or 80% of that $40,000. So your net profit after real estate, caregivers, and everything else in between is somewhere between 20 and 30% of that gross income should come to your bottom line.
Okay, so if we look at this from the two different aspects of it, okay, let's break it down. From the real estate side, if I just decided I wanted to buy the property and lease it back, essentially what we're describing would be a triple net lease to a
not necessarily. It depends on how you negotiate it, because triple net, those, I'm sure all of your listeners know, the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, you could pass that on to the tenant. It's a residential home, not a commercial building. But if you can have that tenant pay your taxes, insurance, and maintenance, it could be triple net.
Okay, how hard is it to find a tenant for that property?
Excellent question. So there you go. And the reality is that is the key question. If you're going to do the real estate part, do not just buy real estate, fix it up, and then say, find a tenant. Go the opposite. Find that tenant first. That's your first job, is to find that person who's going to be the operator or the owner of. So the key to that, finding that person, there's two ways to do it. One, you could approach other owners of these homes in your area and say, look, you own one. Would you like to get a second location? Well, yes, I would. Well, if I were to do the real estate and lease it to you or partner with you, are you interested in that? That's one way. Go to your local market and ask them. Two, come to the class that we have, and there's 60 to 100 people in that room that are saying, I want to operate, but maybe they don't have the wherewithal to do the real estate.
Oh, that's very clever, very clever. Now, let me ask you this, because this is essentially what you're saying, what you're describing is the same type of relationship that multifamily investors have with their investors. Where you go sit down with your investors, hey, I've got some IRA money I want to invest, teach me about multifamily. And what I teach my students is when you have that meeting, you've got to ask the right probing questions so that you can, when the time comes, you find that right property, these guys are going to say yes and write the check for the investment.
Right.
What type of probing questions do you have to ask a potential, owner operator for them to say yes when you show up with a property? Like, I see, based upon what you just said, I'm picturing somebody walking in, hey, do you want to partner with me? Sure. Yeah, I'll partner with you. Okay, great. I'm going to go find, and they come back later and they find this crazy deal. And the guy says, that's not what I want. I'm not going to partner with you for that. What types of questions do you have to get properly answered with those owner operators to help you go out and find a property?
Sure. So, you had mentioned triple net, which is more of a commercial style lease. So just thinking about that tenant, it's a tenant. So the question is, do you have experience? Have you ever done this before? And if they say, I've never done it before, I heard it on a podcast and I think it'd be great to do. You're right. That's not your huckleberry. That's not it.
Yeah.
The ultimate, and let me kind of give you, here's the ultimate. If somebody's got operational experience, they already have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these homes, that's a good sign. Look at their numbers. Are they profitable? And when I say profitable, you and I both know that your tax returns might say 0. The reality is you're making really good money. It's just you're able to write things off. But looking at the numbers, are they profitable? Do they have enough cash flow to pay you the rent? Then reserves. Do they have money in reserves? So we're right back to the same thing as looking at any type of tenant. Are they qualified? So experience as an operator is one. Financially, are they solvent? Do they have some reserve? Those would all be the important pieces. There's a lot more to it, but there it is.
Now, can you hire property? I know I'm going to use the wrong term, but are there companies out there that are management companies for assisted living centers? So like I bought I want to I want to do both sides. I want to do the real estate and the business side, but I can't. I mean, the last thing I'm going to do is take a bunch of old folks into my home and call myself qualified.
Like I said, I never, even if you decide to own and operate the business yourself, they're not coming into your home. You're not.
Yeah, right.
So, but right now, there currently is not a company that you can call 1-800 Manage My Care Home right now. There are for the big box facilities, Brookdale, Sunrise, Adria, you got 100 beds or more. There's management companies for that. But one of the things in the industry is the need for that operational management company. So we at the REL Academy, that's one of the things that we do for some of our students is not full blown, we'll manage everything, but supporting them so that it makes it a lot easier for them. And we do have some people that we're working with that are working on more of a full blown management for the industry. But that's a beast. That's a big, huge, hairy, audacious goal to get that management company in place. So,
all right, tell me about your academy.
Well, we own and operate, so that's the first thing. The second thing is people asked us to teach them almost immediately after starting 7 years ago, and it was 7 years ago yesterday. That was the date. So I'm in my 8th year now.
Good for you.
Yeah, with the academy itself, people were asking us to teach them how to do it. So I'm a teacher by nature. I love to teach, love to see the twinkle in somebody's eye when they get it. So starting way back when, now today, we have 8 classes a year. There's about 100 people in the room every time. They're sold out. People come from all over the world to Phoenix, Arizona for the training. One of the reasons why we do the training in Phoenix is we have a team of 10 that are there to help support the training, but also they come out to see my home. So we get to tour the homes. That's where you really learn, not by sitting and listening and talking or reading, but when you see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, it becomes real. So that's what we do. And the training it's fun. It's fun, yeah. Educational. And I've been so happy to see the success of our students across the country.
That's so cool. Now, how many days is the academy?
It's a 3-day class. We do an immersion training because really I can teach you everything you need to know in those 3 days, yeah. Because all the other questions are going to come in the future when you're in the middle of a problem. Then it's like, what did he say? And that's when we go to the next step.
Now, where do your students come from? And what I've figured out from my avatar of who my customers are, they tend to be people who may have started off in the single family side and they've done some fix and flips and they're ready to go for more cash flowing properties. And then they come over into the multifamily side. So that's my progression of customers. Who comes to your meetings?
You know, the first category would be real estate investors who see this as an opportunity in real estate. Another category would be those with a heart. Not that real estate investors don't have a heart, but what I mean is they want to take care of seniors and that's their mission. But really it's a 3-legged stool. You need the business, you need the care for the residents, and you need staff in between, because I'm not going to be the one who's the manager and the caregiver. So that 3-legged stool is really important. So real estate investors, entrepreneurs, people who are looking for that profit potential, people with a heart. So our motto is actually do good and do well, make money and help other people. And that's really the core of who we have. They're skewing younger than I thought. I thought they'd be 50, 60 like me, not 30, 40. So we have a lot of students that are 30, 40 saying, this is it. They get one home, they're making $10,000 a month net. They're like, I don't need anything else. But then they go on to their second and third home because doing 3 in one area is a great way to scale it even small.
Gee, this is great. I tell you, I mean, where have you been all my life, big boy? You know, no, really, I haven't seen this before. And I just know one of my students was involved in it, but this is a very cool alternative out there.
It is, and you know, keep in mind, different areas of the country call it different things. We call it residential assisted living. New Hampshire is going to call it something different. It's called different things, but it's a residential home in a neighborhood. And the first question people ask, can I do it in my neighborhood? What about HOAs and so on? Because of the Federal Fair Housing Act, it works in our favor. You can't discriminate against grandma. Well, Gene, you can't operate a business in the middle of a neighborhood. It's not a business. It's a group home for the elderly. So you need to know how to present it. There's about 30,000 of these homes across the country. Wow. And I will say that, New England itself, because it's older, there's more good old boy network and there's a lot of regulation and rules and so on. Those rules and regulations are different in each state, but you actually might see less in New England than you would in other states.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let me just see here, because what did I do with it? got so many papers. I actually have the, yeah, right here. Here it is. Here's the chapter 6. See, because I love reading laws. Chapter 674, local land use planning and regulatory powers. These are the New Hampshire state laws. And as a matter of fact, I mean, I'm not going to be able to go through it right now, but there is a section in here for exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
And, you know, because I'm looking at it from the workforce housing aspect and reading that part of the statute, but there's stuff in here for senior homes and stuff. So my recommendation to anyone listening, if you're wondering if it can be done in your area, go read the law. Go. You know.
Here's the thing. I want to help them cut through that. We've done the research in all 50 states, so we know exactly what and how in each of those states. So you could read the law, but for a lot of people, they're not as intelligent as you. And you know,
neither am I. Oh no, we're talking about me.
And here's the other part, Charles. It doesn't really matter. It's like building codes. It doesn't matter what I think. It's what they think. I remember getting one of our properties. We were converting one of the dining rooms into a bedroom. And one of the codes that I read says your window, you have to have egress of 20 by 22. 20 by 22. So at the inspection, the inspector's like, your window doesn't fit code. I'm like, why not? It's 20 by 22. He said, yeah, it needs to be 22 by 20. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He said, it needs to be 22 inches tall, not 22 inches wide. I'm like, what's the difference? He said, because if a fireman comes through your window, they need enough room for them and their oxygen tank to get through the window. Now, I didn't know that, but it doesn't matter what I think I know. If he told me that, that's all. No green tag until he says you're good.
No green tag. Oh, I love those guys. They're beautiful. They keep us. Yeah, I'm actually reading. One thing that you learn in law school is if it's not looking good for you, make sure you read the law. Because a lot of the times these guys, they never read the law, and if you know the law, I mean, that's you can win many games by knowing the rules.
All right, so I don't mean to discount what you just said.
No, I didn't take it that way at all. No.
So let me confirm what you just said, though, because that's exactly right. And a lot of times, even in a state where it says you can't do something, yet this is logical, they should allow it. It's not a matter of changing the law, changing their mindset. It's just reasonable accommodation for you and your project. So with our national association, we have attorneys that help people with building codes and HOAs and so on, where many times they're able to get permission to do what they want to do without changing the rule. It's just reasonable accommodation to say, go ahead, you go do it. Just don't tell anybody else because we don't want to change the rules.
Yeah. Now, I guess you said something a moment ago that made me realize that I had the wrong impression of what this is all about. I was under the impression that we're talking about, you say not the big box places, but I was picturing it being like kind of a much bigger, like maybe a 30, 40 unit building that would house these people. You described it that it could be nothing more than a residential house that's been modified to harbor 6 to 7 older folks.
Yeah. So what most people do is that big box model. When I say big box, that's my term that I put on them, which is kind of negative and they hate it, but that's why I do it.
Yeah.
It's where they've got 100, 200, 300 beds and the caregivers are taking care of a mass of people. What we do is we literally take a single family home in a neighborhood, just like all of you are living in. That home, a few conversions, not much, we can talk about it, but that home is what we use. So maybe 6 or 16 seniors in that home, depending on the size of the home and the rules and regulation, but it is a home in a neighborhood.
Interesting. All right, I'm going to ask you your toughest question so far. When's your next academy going to be?
Well, that is a good question. We are
exactly.
We just put the kibosh on the April one, so the next one is the first weekend in June, and we just have to play it by ear. But the point is, this weekend in June, and it's already pretty much sold out because all of the people from April are like, "We got to get out to your class." All right, go push to the next one. But coming up first weekend in June, and I can show you how to get all that info as well.
I tell you that is definitely a problem in our business right now. Is because I had to cancel my Orlando event, and now I'm like, okay, now when's my next event going to be? And everybody wants it but I can't help you. And I tell you, one of my friends who's on the single family side, he's decided to go forward with his event through virtual. He's going to have the virtual event. I'm not there yet. I mean, you see how good looking I am on the podcast, Gene, and I'm a much better looking in person and taller too, as a matter of fact. But you know, I don't know. I just I'm like this tall right now. So yeah, you know, I'm still waiting. I'm actually going to watch that virtual presentation, see how he pulls it off. I guess there are companies out there that's what they do is.
Well, you absolutely can. The hard part is, you know, just like right now, you and I are talking one-on-one, so we're really locked in and paying attention. But if I'm listening to somebody and I can walk away from the screen and they don't notice, or I can go to the bathroom, they don't notice, and everybody needs a break. So what do? Do a 15-minute break, pause, and expect everybody to come back and not get distracted.
Yeah.
So you can present the information and have that virtual summit, which there's so many of those things popping up right now. It's great, but it's overwhelming.
I know. And there's something about being together and just, you know, face to face, having the right questions. And let me tell you, I have 2 kids home from college right now, and they're doing their classes virtually. I watched 2 of them the other day. Painful. Oh, those professors were so god awful boring. Oh. They were terrible. They were terrible. I'm like, this is so much for tenure. You know, these guys have been doing this for years. They don't care. They just sit there and do their thing, and they still get a paycheck. I mean, we got to perform. We got to perform. We got to, you know, show value. These guys don't give a rat's ass about showing value. It's so noticeable.
Yeah, I don't even want to go there because I am with you 100%. There's no disagreement.
I told you, Gene, this is my podcast. You can say whatever you want, whatever political persuasion you are, and nothing hits the editing room floor.
All right, then I will say something then, because I think
I got him going now. I got his New York up.
No, because of this whole virus thing. The virus is real for sure, but the fear that's being instilled in our society and the government takeover right now is off the chart. And we need to be incredibly aware of what's happening. It couldn't have happened better than if Bernie Sanders should come in and say, let's redistribute the wealth. I'm serious. $2 trillion, where's that going to come from?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Not going to, and that's just the beginning. I heard yesterday we're going to do infrastructure, which I like the concept, but the point is they're spending money they don't have. They're going to have to come get it from me. And if my income is down, my taxes are less, this spiral is now about to go very quickly, and just everybody be prepared. And also, I'm going to say one more thing, and this will be really controversial.
Because I'm going to try to top you. Go on.
All right. Be careful of the, you know, and maybe this might, I won't even say this one. You go ahead. You talk.
Oh, I was going to say, you know, one of the things, and I just read this, as a matter of fact, I got the book, The Power of Zero. As a matter of fact, this guy has wrote The Power of Zero. And one thing he talks about is, you know, we are technically at the least taxed we've ever been in this country as a people, and because of all this, the giveaways, they're going to be forced to have to tax us more as we get older. And so here we are deferring all of our IRA income, our 401k income, you know, to a time when we're supposedly in a lower tax bracket. But then we get to that point, that tax bracket, our income is lower, but we have no deductions, and we end up paying more. Because we don't have those deductions, and you know we're now we're being taxed on income that we never were taxed on before, and it's like they just set us up for that. Yep. They just had me set all this money aside all these years so they could tax it at a higher tax rate.
Sure. And it would kind of solve their problem if they just said 50% tax on all retirement accounts. Yeah, that would be $10 trillion. We got $5 trillion. We're good to go.
Exactly.
And even worse, then they're going to take that $5 trillion and spend it again and stay in the same spot. I have zero faith in our. I am a Trumpster, by the way. In other words, he's a business guy.
I'm a libertarian. I hate them all, but this is the only guy that has called both sides on the carpet and made them answer for it, and I love him for that. And yeah. And listen, just for the record, I have all kids. I have one kid who's your liberal New York City, you know, Broadway show guy, and then I have a son who's taking economics at George Mason. You should see the 2 of them go at it. It starts off as a Trump fight, and then it ends up being a brawl between the two of them on the floor. And that's what I get in my household.
That's good. That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, I had this. I was telling these people one time when I was teaching. And hold on a second. Let me go back to my stack and put my books away in my library here, Gene. So,
When I
yeah.
said that would be fun, what I mean by that, not the fighting part, but I love having conversation with people that think differently than I do.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to be informed, and I want them to share with me why you think what you think.
Right.
Most
We say the same thing. You have to be able to defend your position, and you can't do ad hominem attacks against the other person. And so they don't do ad hominem attacks; they actually do physical attacks against the other person. I was teaching in Virginia one time, and it was just after Trump had won, and I said, I love Donald Trump. Donald Trump has saved me money. And I look out, and I see a couple of my students just give me the hairy eyeball. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, let me explain. I said, I've got a liberal son in New York City. The other day, he calls me, and I know why he's calling me. He only calls me for one reason. So I decided I'm going to have a little fun with this. I said, hey, Jack, how's it going? Good, Dad, good. I said, oh, what's happening? Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, great. Hey, listen, I got to get back to work. I'll talk to you later. No, wait, Dad, wait. Oh, do you need something? He goes, yeah. I was just wondering, can you give me some money? I said, how much do you need? He goes, about $300. $300. I said, okay, $300. What do you need it for? Well, I got to buy this book. I got to go business. It gives me the whole route. I said, okay, but this time, Jack, you're going to earn it. He says, what do I got to do? I said, repeat after me. Donald Trump is doing a great job. And he goes, I'll call Mom. Click. Like, Donald Trump just saved me $300. Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, that's a true story too. I loved it.
Did Mom give him the money? Of course.
Yeah, right out of my pocket.
See, now right there, that's the taxation part, because when you said something, our taxes are historically lower than they've ever been before, but our state taxes are higher, our property taxes are higher, our every tax is higher. Yeah. So we're not just getting federal taxes, we get all these other taxes. If you don't know how to play the tax game, people are literally spending 60-70% of their money that comes to them is going away in just taxes.
Yep, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. And you see that when you make more money, I just hired a new tax attorney this year, and she has done wonders. Actually, she's on one of my podcasts, Christina Lael, and she has turned me around. And I mean, like, done things for me that my no other accountant has ever done. Like, she had me take a test online that said, I had to talk about, like, check this, like, what activities do you do in the course of the day? 100 questions. Hit enter. Comes back and says that I should be paid $90,000 a year. I said, what the hell does that mean? And so I call her up. I said, Christina, I took the test. It says I should make $90,000. She goes, oh my gosh, that's great. I said, what are you talking about? That's great. That doesn't make any sense. I can't live on $90,000 a year. She goes, no, that's what we're going to start paying you in your payroll. And so that's what my self-employment taxes are based upon, 90,000. My payroll is based upon 90,000. Everything I earn over 90,000 is taxed at a lower rate as a distribution of the LLC. I said, why didn't any other accountant tell me this? Yeah, so she does a fantastic job. But that's the thing, is once you start making more money, those are the people that pay the money to get out of paying more more taxes. And you know why now? So it's crazy. So, yeah. So I'm not, listen, you can say whatever you want. I mean, I don't care if you're a Trumper. I'll, if you were a Bernie Sanders guy, would have fun with that one too. So that's all that matters.
We'll see. But after the physics of this whole thing come out in a decade from now, I think it'll be just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I know. But at the same time, you think about what happened with the Spanish flu and how many people died of the Spanish flu and why. And like people say, the reason why we didn't have more deaths is because most of the men were over fighting World War I. And, that Spanish flu was unbelievable as well. How about, people went to the Macy's Day Parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade just to show their solidarity. Like, hey, we're gonna. And then after that, so many hundreds of people died because they all, got caught up in the parade. It's unbelievable the stories that you hear. So, hey, listen, 1 month out of my life, I can look at. My wife is like, how is this quarantine changing you? I said, not really all that much. I just can't go to the country club anymore. That's my thing. So,
Well, actually, it's interesting in Arizona where I am here. They just said, all right, everybody stay at home, and here's your essential things. And thank God, golf courses are still essential.
All right. Well, listen, how do we find you? ralacademy.com?
Actually, let me give you a better website because
Okay.
I'd like to offer any of your listeners a free book, and they can download the book. And if they want to watch a webinar to get a lot more detail than we were able to get into, and or just set up a phone call. So go to RAL 101, RAL101.com. And when you go there, you have all options. Download the book, webinars, give us a call, RAL 101.
Cool. All right. And that's going to appear in our show notes as well. So I recommend everybody go out there and check this out because this is a great alternative. Listen, I mean, you need as many tools in your toolbox. You're out there looking for properties all the time. This is just another, you come across the perfect property for it. If you don't know about ralacademy.com, you're not going to know if it's a perfect property or not. So excellent, Gene. So good to meet you, man.
Good to meet you. Let me ask you one final piece, kind of food for thought, because you just said this, but I'm going to make a guarantee. You say we can say anything. I guarantee you're all going to get involved in assisted living one way or the other. Or you or a family member may be living in a bed, writing a check to somebody who does. So right now you got a choice. And if nothing else, do one of these homes for yourself, because I have people that come to us and they're like, $5,000 a month, I can't afford that. They're not prepared for that. But if they owned one of these homes, they could move mom or dad into the master bedroom and live for free and have 9 or 10 other people paying them $5,000 a month each.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing else.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, this was good. All right, Gene. So good to meet you, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future, pal.
Thank you, Charles.
Take care.